Serious, what are some men's issues that are overlooked? Insecurity in general. You're not supposed to show that you have doubts or worries about your abilities or self-image. A man is supposed to be confident, able and self-assured. It's not okay for men to admit that they lack self-esteem, or that they have genuine problems with their self-image, as they are seen as weaknesses in and of themselves. Other men or women aren't going to bring you up. They won't provide emotional support and tell you it's okay to be inconfident or to feel shame about who you are. They will simply expect that you should take it on the chin. Not everyone can be that guy, but, for a man, what actually makes you feel like a man is being that guy? So you kind of walk around pretending that you're happy, despite the fact that you're not seen as valuable or as desirable as other men, because in doing so, you would be seen as even less valuable or desirable. TLDR, if you feel like and are insecure, it's bad. But if you display that you feel like and are insecure, it's even worse. I've never really been able to put that feeling into words before, but that felt insanely good to get off my chest. Isolation. I've felt this myself, and I've done some reading about it. Men tend to become more isolated and lonely as they get older. After a certain point, they don't make an effort to gain friendships and tend to shy away from any type of social engagement. I feel this way because as of right now, I don't have a close male friend. At least not someone I can talk to about things going on with me personally. I know a lot of people, but I'm less and less engaged with them as each year passes. It concerns me as of late, because I don't want to end up a hermit. But without a solid relationship, I could see myself headed this direction in my older years. Hello from the other side. I'm 57. When I was younger, I told myself that I didn't need other people. And that's still largely true. Today I don't have any close friends. The odd thing is, people like me, they tell me that they think of me as a friend, but not one of them would consider me their best friend. If anyone were to ask me to do something with them or for them, I would. I have, however I rarely ask myself. When I do, the results are hit and miss. I know that everyone's priorities are different. Everyone's work and life balance isn't the same. Jobs and kids get in the way, and friendships are sometimes a lower priority. But when you're my age, many of those issues are already resolved. In all likelihood, your kids are grown and you've probably reached as high a level as you're going to in your career. Yeah, there are always exceptions. By my age, you're probably established enough and comfortable enough to do pretty much whatever you want. Yet here I am, not exactly lonely, but alone. I wonder if things might have been different if I'd had a different attitude towards my solitude when I was younger. Reading the stories from others here, I'm starting to believe that things wouldn't have been. Which makes me wonder if it's the culture that's at fault. Hopefully we'll get more responses from outside the US or UK. I'm retired now. Time to start a new life on a beach somewhere. I might still be alone, but at least the scenery will be great. Loneliness. Abuse from women, other men. We're told to just take it and toughen up. It builds character, puts hair on the chest, etc. And we don't need support or a helping hand. F that. Yes, my cousin was constantly tormented and beat on by his 2 older brothers. He died at 39 from alcoholism because of that. The lack of a good support system. Just because a guy has people that he hangs out with, doesn't mean he's comfortable telling them serious personal issues. I don't the accuracy of the statement, but I read that majority of men between ages 14-35 are lonely. I can speak for myself, and that's true. It had been more than a year I had any human interaction outside my family. Even though your family has your back, but you don't tell them all the things you are going through just because you don't want to bother them with your problems, because you feel your problems don't matter and you should be able to face it on your own. Mental health. And this is coming from someone who has lived on the ideas of you're a guy, get over yourself. It was taught to me. I didn't think much of it, and now that I'm about to hit 20, I can feel the effects like a ripple. It's actually hard for me to open up to people, and when I do, I feel like I'm wasting everyone's time. In Western culture, men are defined by what they do and not by who they are being. So, when they retire, they often develop mental illness because they are no longer doing. This often leads to suicide. Then there's the whole nonsense of the stoic, emotionless man getting on with the work. Not even always suicide. A lot of times they just sit in a chair, turn on the TV, and waste away. So this one might not be as serious as the others. I babysit my friends' kids all the time. One is 3 and the other is 11. I like to take them out and about to have some fun. We go eat food. We go to the park and arcades too. We have a ton of fun. But I always get weird looks from people. They don't look like me at all because I'm not the father. I've had people interrogate me and it's weird to me. I've been their entire life and treat them like my own kids. So it kinda hurts. That one is so terrible. Men just can't be around children without being looked at weird, regardless of their relationship, except if you are clearly their father or a woman is with you. Your kids can be literal clones of you and still get weird looks in the parks and such because so many people perpetuate this idea that all men are pedos hunting kids. I run recreational kids programs at a community center. There have been several times women refuse to drop their kids off when myself and another male are working the program. Doesn't matter if other moms dropping their kids off tell them we are fine and they've known us for years. Then they go to the front desk to complain and get told the same thing and they act like they simply can't understand how two adult males could possibly care for a group of 3-5-year-olds. There are often implications they dance around as to why I must be working there, and I get you should be comfortable with the people you're dropping your kids off with, but what kind of message are you sending to your own kids when you pitch a fit about how men simply can't be trusted? What message do you send to your own son? I love my job and it hurts to be viewed as untrustworthy or even a predator simply because I'm a guy. I quit a job working at a vacation care and stopped studying teaching after one morning I was greeting students as they came in, and one of the mums said to her son, "Who is this pedophile?" Which the kid just started to repeat all day. I'd worked there for a while and the whole thing completely destroyed any dream I had of teaching because I know men always get looked at as if we are weird if we are nice to children. It's genuinely effed up. So I'm at the park playing tag with these kids I'm babysitting and out of nowhere this old lady comes up to me and starts asking all sorts of questions. Do you know these kids? What are their names? Can you call their parents for me? Even asking the kids if they knew me, and when they answered yes, she responded with, "You don't have to lie. If you don't know this man, you can tell me and I can help you." I have taken my 4 kids to the park when they were younger. I use a cane due to physical disability, so I am sitting on the bench watching my kids play, and a bunch moms are at the splash pads a few meters away. 5 minutes later I have a cop asking me questions about why I am at the park, if I know any of the children, etc. Apparently the moms decided that a male at a park was enough to warrant a call to the cops. Was camping with friends a few years back. They have kids. I don't. We saw a toddler wandering around with no adults in sight. My friends, dealing with their own kids, asked me to go see if I can help the lost kid out. The parents saw me bringing their kid back and instead of thanking me, freaked out and called the police. Had my friends not showed up, I probably would have been arrested. All because some shy parents couldn't watch their own kid and freaked when a man brought their kid back to them. I effing hate this. I feel like I'm not even allowed to spend time with my nieces and nephews or take them out to do fun stuff because an adult male with children is definitely a pedo. Word part is if that I've even heard horror stories about the child jokingly saying they don't know their babysitter, or, as children do, lying on purpose to test the boundaries, and the guy having to nearly go through a full arrest if it weren't for the parents contacting the police and explaining the situation. People seem to think that kids are incapable of lying. Dude, they make sharp all the time. Mother, what's your name? Kid, I don't know. My mate arranged to go for a walk around town and whatnot for a catch up. He was bringing his eldest daughter, who was 4 going 5, I think, at the time, to ease the burden on his missus with their younger kids for the afternoon. He had a hospital appointment for 30 minutes and we'd arranged that I'd take his daughter to the park opposite the hospital, let her play and treat her to an ice cream. Now I'm rather shy around kids because I don't know how to talk to them and don't know how to deal with their I'm just not great with kids. Let's just leave it with it's clear I'm not a dad and I'm not her father. When we got to the front of the queue at the ice cream truck, I asked her what ice cream she would like. She said, with the most deadpan expression, staring into my soul, "My daddy doesn't let me have ice creams." I'm standing there, silent, bewildered, and everything around me was quiet and still for what felt like an eternity. Thankfully she eventually said something that broke the tension and all was fine, but it was that few seconds where everyone around probably started to form some opinions. I was wondering if this comment would come up. In teaching, male teachers have to be so much more careful. They should try to avoid even unintentionally brushing against a child. They have to worry a lot more about frivolous accusations from students because unfortunately society seems to prejudge men as predatory and untrustworthy around children. Men who are victims of sexual assault, RE, domestic abuse, male suicide rates, and oppression. Male sexual assault and RE in the military is a huge issue that is ignored. We are barely scratching the surface on female RE in the military. Imagine being a male victim of RE or sexual assault, especially by a male perpetrator. I can't imagine how hard it is to endure that and then receive no sympathy or support because of our weird hang-ups about men being able to defend themselves. It's criminal what we do to victims of these horrible crimes. The criminality is magnified x 100 if it's a member of the military. Emotional abuse of men. My BF suffered that in both his marriages and I am so careful to not say or do anything that could make him feel the way they made him feel. I try very hard to be sure he knows I value him for who he is, just the way he is, every single day, even he doesn't know how much damage they caused him. I will never get over this 1950s assumption that women can't abuse men. Women abuse men way more often than anyone realizes, and the system is stacked against men in so many different ways. The miserable paternity leaves. Cause what man wants to spend time with his newborn kid and a recovering wife, right? My country just raised it from 3 days to 2 weeks within 6 months after the birth, which still isn't a lot. In my country, each parent has to take at least 15 weeks, but they can split the remaining 16 weeks as they see fit. Loneliness. Many men tend to have a lot of friends, but never close friends or people they feel like truly care about them, which leads to declining mental health, and maybe worse, especially not relationships in which you can talk mental health and that deep emotional stuff. I feel lucky to have at least a couple people in my life who listen to such issues, only because they experience mental issues as well and because I do my best to destigmatize mental illness in my everyday life. The good old friends that I hang out in school college with but don't meet them outside of there. This one is top 3 things that sometimes keep me up all night. Being hit with the realization that if everyone I knew got a "you get one last phone call to one person before you die" ultimatum, I am not sure a single one of them would be to me. Well, that thought just ruined my day and it's only 6 AM. To be fair, most people I assume would call their mom. Not a lot of men are moms. It's an odd switch from how things used to be. C.S. Lewis wrote about this problem in The Four Loves, how men now tend to have no good, close friends they can really relate to. My dad went to Paraguay, I think, once for a school thing for a few months, and something that surprised him was that the men were very affectionate, not kissing each other or something, but he mentioned how when boys were out in the playground and were tired, they and their friends would lay with their backs against each other so they had something comfortable to lay against, and when siesta came, men would lay in the same beds to take a nap. Oddly enough, even though we now live in a culture where homosexuality is just about normalized, affection and close friendships between men are the most distrusted, and labeled as closeted gay lovers. The meme of women screwing each other being seen as them being just friends and men hugging being gay lovers is for real. I remember an article made fun of on 4chan that some archaeologists had found 2 male skeletons hugging each other in the rubble of Pompeii, and the archaeologists supposed they were gay lovers. Why must a hug be instantly labeled as homosexual in nature, even by people supposedly supportive of LGBT culture and gay marriage and all that? It's far too common for them to see 2 guys who are good friends hug and say, "Oh wow, they're probably gay." Keep sexuality out of this Mental health. Oftentimes men are made to believe mental health struggles show weakness or vulnerability, when in reality it is not something they can control. There are almost always more shelters available to women experiencing homelessness. In my city, the split is about 75% beds for women and children and 25% for men. I understand that society considers women more vulnerable, but I live in a city where it routinely gets below 0 in the winter. Hypothermia doesn't care about your gender. When I lived in support accommodation, they only allowed a certain number of men per house. For example, only 3 in a 6-bedroom house, because too many men together are apparently violent. For a while I lived with 5 other women because there weren't any rules about how many women could live together. There were daily arguments and screaming matches, many of which would lead to actual fist fights, and it went on for a lot longer than it should have because we're women and it's not that bad. Homeless support for men is horribly bad. I am a single father with primary custody of a school-aged child with little social support in my area. I was also the stay-at-home parent while I went back to college and completed my degree. It is damn near impossible to find good childcare. My female work friends volunteer but then bail at the last minute. I'm looked at as a threat by husbands of my son's classmate parents. I find that I'm often the only guy at the playground and get sideways glances from the cliques of women who go there. If I hire a babysitter, I have to make sure I'm overly cautious about respecting boundaries, if I'm even able to have a babysitter watch my child. Also, the normal competition among female mothers gets amplified and I'm often looked down on as a parent. I don't fit in with working guys who just want to go out and get a beer because I have a child to take care of, and women often reject me on online dating sites simply because I have a child. I love my son and would do anything in the world for him. I feel like I've done a lot, but men in my situation have zero to little support or infrastructure to manage as a single, full-time parent in society. Men can be just as good parents as women, and society needs to normalize this pronto. Thank you for talking about this. I'm in my late 20s and my father was a single father. He is my hero and absolutely an amazing parent and person. I'm sure your son will look at you the same. This is a huge issue. The only reason he even won in court was because my mother said she wasn't able and ready to raise a child to the judge's face. My grandmother, mom's mom, has always told me that was the greatest thing my mom would ever do for me, because my dad was by far and away more fit to be a parent, but until that the court was just going to default to mother custody. Thank you for bringing this up, and thank you for being a father. I work at a psychiatric hospital and out of the 13 wards, only 3 are for women. The huge problem to face men is mental illness, and most, if not all, the patients are there because they kept taking drugs as well. Erectile dysfunction. It seems like a joke, but guys literally kill themselves because of it. It's like losing the ability to love, losing your manhood, losing your ability to feel intimate with someone. I worked at a family practice clinic and was actually shocked at how many people had ED. It's honestly super common and more education should be given out. A really big one is abuse. Sexual assault or RE isn't taken seriously when it happens to men. The consequences of body shaming. It has the same effect on men as it does women. No one likes to be insulted, no matter who you are. Just because we are a different sex does not mean our minds are so vastly different that we react differently to even the most basic of things. Some women think we are emotionless, meant to serve them. Sorry if I had or did this wrong. Going bald really sucks. Kind of a hidden one that's clouded by many of today's norms and cultural values, but the concept of disposability with men and many things that make them individual beings. I saw a woman attempting to hit her boyfriend outside a local supermarket. He walked away from her. She followed him and kept hitting him. After this went on for about 90 seconds, he shoved her away roughly once. 2 cars immediately stopped and men jumped out of them shouting at and threatening this guy for shoving her. Nobody did anything when she was attacking him. There have been social experiments about this. People laugh when the woman hits the man, but the other way around, people intervene. There's a buddy cop movie where they investigate a domestic violence call and it's this big huge hairy guy and this tiny pixie of a woman. Neighbors called because she was beating him. Nothing comes of the visit. Next time they come out to a call at that address, she had stabbed him to death. In middle school, my male cousin was assaulted by this girl with this old school solid wood yardstick. She kept hitting him with it and he kept telling her to stop. She didn't. He hits her with a quick 3-piece and she goes down. They suspended him and let her come back to school. We literally had to stage a walkout on our teacher to get them to take another look at his case. They ended up overruling it and suspending her for 9 days and him for 1 day. That it took a walkout to get that is disgusting. My ex would do this all the time. She would punch me in the face, slap me in the face, yank on my hair and stuff, all while saying sh like lol you little psy. You'll hit me eventually and when you do you're f-ed. Well, she did that a few times over the course of 4 years, and one time I took her arm and yanked her away from me but gripped so hard, her skin turned red on her arm and she looked at me like gotcha and started texting people and took a picture of it. So I left, and I went to my mom's. I had bite marks and bruises all over myself, red marks galore. She had one red spot on her arm, Nothing ever happened from it other than her posting all over Facebook about how I hit her or whatever. But she was effing crazy. That relationship ruined my mental health. Literally ruined it. I know you just see my side of the story, so it is one-sided, but trust me, whatever I did wrong in our relationship didn't even hold a candle to the serial cheating and master manipulation that was actually going on. And forget about the physical that stuff didn't hurt even close to as bad as everyone else. Still though, people close to me don't even act like they know. They know how insane she was after I finally left her, and they saw things objectively without her manipulating their opinions on everything. But it's like if I did even 10% of this stuff to a girl, it would be a huge deal. Yet it happening to me is like it doesn't even matter when I can tell it's going to be multiple years. It's been 3 years since I left her, until I really start to feel entirely better.